I didn't fully understand how insulated Americans can be until I started working around tourists abroad. One of the first moments that stuck with me happened during a flight landing in Manchester. A woman suddenly panicked, yelling that we had kidnapped her because she booked a flight to England, not Manchester. I calmly explained that Manchester is a city in England. She refused to accept it. Her travel app showed 2 different pins, so in her mind they were 2 different countries. She demanded that we take off again and fly to what she called real England. What surprised me wasn't fear. It was certainty. She wasn't embarrassed or curious. She was angry that reality didn't match her assumptions. That moment made something click. For some people, geography isn't something you learn. It's something an app confirms. And when the app doesn't align with reality, reality is blamed. That mindset shows up again and again when expectations collide with the real world. That same mindset appeared while I was working at a bookstore in Dublin. An American customer picked up a history book and asked if it had been translated from Irish into English. When I explained it was written in English originally, he looked genuinely confused. He asked why people in Ireland would even speak English. I explained colonial history, language shifts, and modern Irish culture. He paused and said it felt like Americans suddenly speaking Spanish instead of American. He wasn't joking. That moment revealed something deeper. English wasn't a shared global language to him. It was something America owned. I saw the same confusion in Prague, where an American student complained that Czech used made-up letters. She couldn't understand why other languages existed at all when English was universal. It wasn't hostility, it was insulation. When adaptation isn't required at home, adaptation abroad feels unnecessary. At a ski resort in Switzerland during July, an American family demanded to know where the snow was. When I explained it was summer, the father laughed and said Switzerland always has snow because he saw it in movies. No explanation about seasons or altitude worked. Hollywood had taught him a version of reality he trusted more than geography. In Rome, a taxi passenger insisted we were driving on the wrong side of the road because Europe drives backwards. He thought England's rules applied to an entire continent. These moments weren't caused by lack of information. They were caused by refusal to update beliefs. When an idea becomes part of someone's identity, correcting it feels personal. That's why these situations escalate into arguments instead of conversations. Travel removes the safety net of familiarity. Suddenly systems don't bend automatically. And when they don't, frustration replaces curiosity. While working hotel reception in Edinburgh, a guest asked why British money had the Queen's face instead of the president. When I explained the monarchy, he asked how people vote for a new queen. After explaining hereditary systems, he looked disturbed rather than interested. In Amsterdam, a coffee customer tried paying with US dollars, insisting European dollars were basically the same thing. In Copenhagen, a patient wrote his weight in freedom units and questioned whether European doctors used real measurements. These interactions shared one pattern. American standards were treated as default reality. Anything different felt wrong or inferior. This wasn't loud arrogance, it was quiet certainty. The expectation that the world should adapt automatically. Entitlement doesn't always shout. Sometimes it simply waits to be accommodated. In Barcelona, a tour guide struggled with an American tourist who called everything Mexican architecture because Spanish was basically Mexican. She waved off corrections and tipped in pesos. In Manchester, a rental car customer demanded a steering wheel on the left side and asked for an American-style car. In Dublin, a guest asked whether Ireland's time zone came before or after American time. Explaining that time zones aren't ranked by importance took longer than expected. These moments highlight something uncomfortable. Many Americans rarely experience being culturally secondary. At home, systems adapt to them. Abroad, adaptation is required from them. For some, that shift feels threatening. Travel exposes how little adjustment they've been asked to make before. Without familiarity, entitlement becomes visible. In Belgium, chocolate shop customers compared everything to Hershey's, confused by the lack of sugar. In Oxford, a student asked for original English books before America fixed the spelling. In Glasgow, a tourist complained fish and chips didn't taste like mall food courts. At the Louvre, someone asked why ancient artists didn't just take photos. These moments sound funny until you realize they come from historical centrality. When your education frames your country as the peak of progress, everything before or outside it feels primitive. History becomes a straight line leading to America. Other cultures become side notes. This isn't always taught directly. It's implied. And when people finally confront real history, it feels like an attack instead of an expansion. In Brussels, a traveler tried depositing American coins at a bank, insisting money is money. In Stockholm, an ATM defaulting to Swedish offended a customer who believed English should always come first. At a train station, someone insisted American freight trains proved the US invented trains entirely. He missed his train while arguing. These encounters weren't about curiosity. They were about dominance. When systems don't validate assumptions, frustration hardens into defensiveness. Correction feels humiliating. Learning stops. That's how ignorance becomes permanent. Not through lack of access, but through refusal to adapt. In Florence, diners demanded Italian-American food and argued Olive Garden was more authentic. In Paris, a guest complained his shower was broken because 32 degrees should be freezing everywhere. In Cardiff, colorful currency was mocked as fake because money should be green. In London, someone complained British English wasn't proper English despite originating there. These contradictions reveal confidence without context. Confidence isn't bad, but without humility it turns into ridicule. Other cultures aren't wrong, they're unfamiliar. And unfamiliarity feels like error when curiosity is missing. In Copenhagen, a tourist tried to drive to Norway despite water between them. In Liverpool, a customer rejected identical medicine because it wasn't FDA approved. In Brussels, a traveler demanded American measurements in European guidebooks. In Rome, a diner argued Italian chefs were cooking Italian food incorrectly. These stories aren't about intelligence, they're about insulation. Many Americans are protected from meaningful difference. When they finally encounter it, the instinct isn't curiosity. It's resistance. That's what isolation does. It creates confidence without exposure. None of this means Americans are stupid. It means the system protects them from needing to adapt. The United States is large, powerful, and culturally loud. That creates comfort, but comfort limits perspective. Travel exposes gaps not because Americans are uniquely ignorant, but because they're uniquely insulated. The problem isn't not knowing. It's refusing to learn when confronted. Curiosity fixes ignorance, humility fixes arrogance. The world doesn't exist to confirm assumptions. It exists to challenge them. And the moment someone stops listening, they stop understanding. That's the difference between being a tourist and truly being present. If this made you think, it did its job. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.